So Rho is your options sensitivity to changes in interest rates. In other words, how much my options are expected to change with each 1 percentage point change in the risk-free rate. It's always expressed in the decimal form, represents a cash amount per option, all other pricing factors remaining constant. Okay, so it's really kind of considered the least significant of all the pricing factors. Okay, it's really a component of the cost to carry. So, you know, the deep in the money options that are further dated are more affected by changes in interest rates. Okay, so it's a smaller portion of the options total premium. But once again, when I was trading options and I had like all my Greeks, and I had my Rho numbers, I could care less what my Rho was saying because I have no control over, you know, what the Fed does with interest rates. I can price that in through a yield curve and kind of come up with an idea of, you know, where the interest rates are, you know, for whatever options that I'm trading for. But, you know, I have no control over, you know, where interest rates are going. And if you're really good at predicting interest rates, you should be probably trading bonds. But once again, how often do interest rates change in 1 percentage point increments? They really, you know, I think in 1980, when Paul Volcker was the Federal Reserve Chairman and we had massive inflation, he, at one point, I believe the biggest increase was a 2 percentage point increase. But as you see lately, you know, I think the least amount of increase is probably a quarter point. Maybe I think in the past they've done eighth points, but, you know, typically it's like a quarter point or a half a point. So very rarely do you see 1 percentage point changes in interest rates. Okay. And once again, it's something that I can't control. And, you know, yes, I would look on there and I could see what my Rho risk is, but it's nothing that I ever really lost sleep over. So Rho amounts are generated by the options pricing model. So calls have positive Rho and puts have negative Rho. Okay, and it's larger for the deep in the money options, both calls and puts. Okay, so and Rho, your Rho decreases as your options move out of the money, and your Rho increases for the higher priced in the money options. Okay, so the more time to expiration, the further dated options that are also more vega heavy that are in the money will have greater amounts of Rho. The shorter term options have very little impact when interest rates change. It's the longer term options, and which options are the longest, you know, longer term leaps, options that are, you know, anywhere from 9.5 months to up to 2.5 years out are going to be more impacted by changes in interest rates.